Good afternoon. We are continuing our discussion on Frank Wilderson, this time focusing on the text, The Vengeance of Vertigo. But first, we have the chance to hear Angela's discussion on Fanon. And the discussion after the presentation will be on Angela's talk. After that, I will do, as usual, recapitulate the last class. I will briefly present Vengeance of Vertigo, the first 10 pages, and then we will finish hopefully earlier because I have to clean the classroom and go back to my office quickly. So I'm gonna shrink this window just so you can see. Anyways, to go back to what we discussed with Luke and Francis and Max, junior partners in terms of helping white people, enslaving Black people. So according to Wilderson, they're not necessarily always serving the white supremacy, but they do perpetuate certain type of anti-Blackness. And we discussed junior partner as if it was synonym of people of color, but junior partners is larger than people of color. In the interview, Wilderson talked about an offensive way to describe people of color. He said colored immigrants on page 21 of the book. And therefore, junior partner would be people of color and Native Americans. But with the text that we just read last week, we saw that it's also white women and workers who are junior partners. So you can be white and you can be a junior partner too, if you are a woman. So it's acknowledging that you have, even if you're white, you suffer some kind of oppression because of your gender or because of your status. But you're still, of course, a non-Black person, therefore you are still considered a human being and also the master of a Black person, because Black people are not human. And so all people in the world racialized as Black are socially dead, no matter their wealth, gender, citizen status. For Wilderson, they are all prison slaves or prison slaves in waiting. So that's what we discussed last week with the article. But last week we were just focusing on the situation of Black people in the US. And so this is, I'm sorry. This is something that you can read on your own. It's just some notes on junior partners. And I just look for you for the textual evidence in case you need it. So junior partner is a concept that Wilderson discussed in the interview on page 21. It's just something that you can read if you need that. Maybe it can be useful for your second assignment. And this too, it talks about junior partners as immigrant, white woman, and working class. So this is in the Prison Slave as Hegemony's silent scandal. So it was published before the interview. And I won't comment on that. It's just, I'm just trying to provide with textual evidence if you need to discuss junior partner, because I don't want you to cite my slides, but I want you to cite the text itself. That would make your text better. And we also discussed with Francis and Max the difference between Wilderson and Fanon, and because Francis asked me what Wilderson doesn't like about The Wretched of the Earth, and I was so tired that I was not really able to answer the question, so now trying to provide the answer. So Black freedom and freedom for all humanity are not identical. This is, I cannot give you textual evidence for that because this information comes from my notes, the notes that I made when I was interviewing Frank Wilderson last summer. And so you don't have any textual evidence anywhere because it's in my thesis, and my thesis is not published yet. Okay. What else? Fanon understood the oppression experienced by Black people as distinct from that experienced by any other social group. So in this way, we can see that Fanon had an Afro-pessimist perspective on Black people when he was writing Black Skin, White Mask. Of course, Afro-pessimists didn't exist at the time, but it's just saying that it was similar, the way it was taken at the time was similar to how Wilderson and all the Afro-pessimists think now in Black Skin, White Mask. Okay, I have my cat in front of me. Okay. And so in The Wretched of the Earth, the Black experience is not that Fanon said, I disagree with what I wrote in Black Skin, White Mask, but it's just saying that freedom for Black people is possible if we are able to decolonize the world and make a socialist world. So the freedom for Black people would be equivalent to the freedom of the whole humanity. So yeah, building of a socialist decolonized world. But for Wilderson, it's clear that's not acceptable to think this way. And that's a critique that he has against not only Fanon, but against Lewis Gordon and Angela Davis, political science in general, or political philosophy in general. Today, it's just they are so oriented towards solutions. And they are scared to say that Black freedom requires more than that, and it's not simple. The truth that Fanon or Davis or Gordon does not want to face is that Black freedom is a threat to everyone, and that intergroup solidarity works only for non-Black people. So that's what he's trying to demonstrate in this article that we read. So I hope it was useful for you to see a little bit the difference between Wilderson and Fanon. Also, one of you said that to understand Wilderson, it would be necessary to have other sources. I just think that this comment is really, really, really interesting because since the beginning of the semester, I never stopped providing more sources than the author themselves. I'm gonna push the, maybe I don't need to speak that loud. Okay. So if you go on in your course link page, I'm gonna try to speak from my stomach, not my, okay. If you go on discussion, you see that I gave you a lot of notes that may be useful for you to understand Wilderson and Fanon. Because anytime you ask me a question, I think about it all the time. And if I'm not able to answer it, right now, I will think about it and I will put the answer in the discussion section. So I put a lot of information on collective catharsis and other subjects. And on top of that, I also include in the course link, in the required reading section, many additional readings. I don't know if I can focus the image or not. Maybe I cannot in this, no. But if you go to my slides, you will, but if you go to course link, you will see that I gave you many sources to understand Wilderson. So I think it's not accurate to say that I do not give you other sources than Wilderson. I hope this is very clear. Okay, and since you have to submit your text in 2 weeks, I'm trying to give you some tips to be smart with your 2 weeks. You want to read the required readings, thinking about what you will include in your essay. So the themes you have in the essay, you have the people of color framework, intergroup solidarity, unproductive resignation, Black people's agency, Fanon's notion of Blackness, fight against capitalism. This is all ways that you can use to question Wilderson's logic. And I wrote these questions thinking about our discussion and what seems to be important for you. And last week, one of you asked me if he can write his own essay question, because he has already a question in mind, and it was on collective catharsis. And I just think it's a very good idea, and I would like to be fair and give you the chance, if you want to write your own essay question. I would like to offer you the opportunity. That was not my plan, but if it can help you get better grades, of course, I support that. It's just that I have to approve before, and it's not a research paper. Not a research paper, I repeat. So it's still the same. The majority or half of the text, at least, should be focused on Wilderson's readings. And then you bring your own perspective. But your own perspective, you can only use the readings that are in course link to support them. And you can also use Fanon. Even if it's not in course link, you can use any text from Fanon. If you want to talk about collective catharsis, I suggest that you read chapter 6 of Black Skin, White Mask, because this is where Fanon discussed that topic. This text is in my book the French book, the French version, it's 60 pages. It's long, so I cannot cover that this semester. It's too late. I regret. If I had to do that class again, comparing Fanon and Wilderson, I would definitely include chapter 6. It's so important to see the link between Fanon and Wilderson. So this is my regret. It's 60 pages. It's too late. So anyways, if you have the time and if you are really driven and you have the necessary work ethic, I think you can pull that off and do this question. I think it's an amazing question, amazing topic, and I think you will do great. So also, yeah, I want you to be smart with your studies, and then, yeah, all these texts, Afro-Pessimist book, it's on the publisher's website, and it's PDF, so you can use the command Control F and look up for the keywords that are relevant for your essay. For example, Marxism, capitalism, collective catharsis. So you will be quicker. You will see, okay, this is where Wilderson talks about it. So you will be just, you will work faster if you use Control F for this book and for Red, White, and Black, which is the reading that we will discuss next week. So because you want to be smart, because you only have 2 weeks. But by the way, so the text is for November 30. I cannot push the deadline because I have my own deadline to respect with the administration in terms of final grade. But if you have any problem before the deadline, something happened, an event, or you become ill, or, of course, please discuss it with me as fast as you can so we can find an appropriate solution. I just want you to not take the penalty points as if you deserve them. If you have something that happened in your life, it's okay for you to talk about it with your instructor. You did a great job. You went through this whole semester. So you want to have the best grade that you can have. So late penalty point is really disappointing. For the last essay, someone had a B, but because the paper was late, the person got a C, and I think it's really sad because the text was good. I just don't want that to happen. If something happened to you, please discuss it with me. Okay, next. So the text itself, I just want to go through it quickly because I think this part of the text is easy compared to the rest of the text. And also at this point, I believe you became familiar to Wilderson's ideas because we are still in the same, discussing the same themes. Okay, so the context of the first section where Vertigo's meet, it's Wilderson talks about political trials of Black Liberation Army and Weather Underground, because as you know, there was a coalition and they decided to make operation against the police. So they had to face trials, but instead of respecting the protocol, they used this space, juridical space, as a political space, in which they can express their dissatisfaction with white supremacy. According to Wilderson, everybody experiences subjective vertigo when they do this, because it's really impressive. You are part of a small group, you are a young person, part of a small group trying to fight white supremacy. You suffer from vertigo. But he said that the difference between these groups and the Black person is that the Black person suffers from both objective and subjective vertigo. Okay, let me see the text. So you see that in page 125. He said in the second paragraph, subjective vertigo is vertigo of the event, but the sensation that one is not simply spinning in an otherwise stable environment, that one's environment is virtually unhinged, stems from a relationship to violence that cannot be analogized. This is called objective vertigo, a life constituted by disorientation rather than a life interrupted by disorientation. This is structural as opposed to performative violence. Black subjectivity is a crossroad where vertigos meet, the intersection of performative and structural violence. So the person who fights against the police suffer from subjective vertigo. So it's a life interrupted by disorientation. And it's performative, so it's punctual. But for a Black person, the life is constituted by disorientation, because violence against a Black person is structural and not just contingent. So you are familiar with these ideas. And okay, so according to Wilderson, political ontology of Black people is distinct from that of natives, which makes their vertigo qualitatively different. We discussed that in page 125. So I would say that page 125 is an important text to, part of the text to read and reread again and again, because this is where you have the important ideas of the section 1. Okay, and so after that, Wilderson talks about how he, as a Black scholar, is subjected to vertigo, because he tries to talk about the violence that Black people suffer, and be coherent when he talks about it and not be disoriented. So this is a challenge. And then the second, oh, damn it. I'm sorry. This is my daughter. I'm sorry for her. She suffered from autism. Okay. So the second section, static positivism and the necessary thing. Static positivism is a term that David Pratt used to criticize Black Panther Party, because but it's not really necessary. But you can see the explanation in page 129, I think, and 130. I don't want to focus on that. I'm just trying to explain the title. And the necessary thing is Assata Shakur's lawyer term to refute what David Pratt said. So for Shakur's lawyer, what Black Panther Party did in court was necessary, was good, and for David Pratt, it was not good. But anyways, you can see the details in the text. But okay, so the context is that Kuwasi Balagun was tried for the expropriation of funds from an armored car in New York and the resultant death of police officers. He was sentenced to lifetime in jail. And before he went to jail, when he had to talk to the court, he decided to read a poem that he wrote. And the poem is in page 131. And it's called Your Honor. I won't read it because I don't really care for the poem to be truthful. Anyway, so Wilderson said that the subjects of the poems, so Balagun talks about Black people victims of police violence. But so these Black subjects are not Gramscian subjects. Therefore, it's just a body count of Black victims. It's just a reportage. And it's not a gesture that will isolate or emasculate ruling class values. So it's not as efficient as listing Holocaust victims, for example. So the gesture is spectacular and impressive because there was this young man who was facing lifetime in jail, and still he was fighting for the freedom of everybody, but not him, because he is trapped. It's over for him. But yeah, so Wilderson admires the gesture, but he said that it lacks sustained meditations. And that's something that is recurrent with Wilderson. Lack sustained meditation is a criticism that he has towards political science and political philosophy in general. Everything that is oriented toward solutions and lacks sustained meditations, according to Wilderson. So I don't know if I want to do a discussion, because I'm a little bit discouraged that many of you do not come prepared in class. And so when you answer the question, you just say whatever. But anyways, I don't know if I want to do a discussion. But anyways, Thursday, we'll continue with The Vengeance of Vertigo from page 133 to the end. Thank you.